Hey guys, it's your favorite Dinobot here, and today we're going to be debunking Danco's top 10 most powerful Autobots ranked. This was yeah, this was terrible across the board. I really don't like it for so many reasons here. For starters, he said his sources was tfwiki.net, but again, tfwiki.net doesn't power scale. Like, they're not saying they're a bad website, but it's not a website you really use for power scaling. You use it for information. And again, I don't have the biggest respect for Danco, in all honesty. I mean, it's pretty simple. Why? He plagiarizes a large majority of his information just to steal views from other YouTubers. And again, even in this video, he's still reading word for word, bar for bar, the same lines as tfwiki.net. Not sure if that would count as plagiarism because he cited his source here, but it's very possible it does. But before we really get into this ranking and facing it and pretty much giving, every reason why these characters don't belong here or they belong somewhere else here, we gotta have to talk about the literal power structure within each verse here. Now, the Bayverse itself is around the solar system level calibers, alright? This is because, one, Megatron himself was meant to absorb the Allspark, but again, Sam forced it in his chest without Megatron being able to really put it in and siphon that energy pretty much equally within himself. So, yeah, it's kind of like, well, Sam just threw it up in him and it just happened like that, right? With the Allspark being able to absorb supernovas, and then you have the sheer fact that the Autobots and Decepticons were able to apply it to themselves. So yeah, there's a lot of star level, solar system level scaling. Even with characters like Blackout, his cannon can fire 700 decibels, which is actually enough to destroy an entire solar system. So yeah, these guys are ridiculously powerful across the board. But let's also talk about the Nightverse, because again, you guys are going to see why here. Now again, a lot of people put the Nightverse at Universal Plus, which I don't really see why. Scourge, Optimus, and Optimus Primal really don't scale to the Transwarp Key. You see, the problem with this kind of scaling is that Optimus was knocked out when he destroyed the Transwarp Key. Like he gets knocked out by it. Plus, the Transwarp Key put all of its energy into opening a space bridge, so you got knocked out by a weakened explosion. Yeah, I don't think that's really applicable here. And again, the only character that can really destroy planets is Unicron. So until we see some Matrix of leadership feats and how it applies to Optimus and stuff here, plus again, more, I guess you could say, accurate relic scaling, I do believe that the Nightverse is around the city levels because Bumblebee was able to withstand a nuke in their tie-in comics. So without further ado, let's begin this list, starting off with Optimus Primal. And he's way too high on this list. Why is he number 6? And the characters that he's above make absolutely no sense here. He barely does anything in the movie and only fights Airraiser while holding back and fights Battletrap off screen. Like, he doesn't even scale to Scourge here, or possibly doesn't even scale to Optimus, in all honesty. And he's somehow above Ironhide, who's number 7. And wait, this is the funny part, right? Because Ironhide is somehow also above Strafe, who's stronger than him massively. Like, the Dinobots massively upscale the Autobots here, minus Optimus and I would probably say Megatron, but again, they were able to, throw around Megatron a good amount of times here. And then you have Scorn, who is somehow below Strafe when he's physically stronger than he is. Like, Strafe's the fastest, but Scorn is definitely a lot stronger than Strafe. And then Slug is somehow below Scorn. So the second in command of Grimlock, the number 2 to the king of dinosaurs, is somehow the lowest, right? Yeah, no, Ironhide directly scales to Optimus. Like, there have been fights in their prequel comics and in the novels where Ironhide has actually shown that he's relative to Optimus and Jazz. Jazz being literally second to Optimus himself here. So again, these three were like the top tier Autobots here, manhandling Decepticons, and Jazz was known for toying with them before he killed them. Ironhide was basically more serious than Jazz was, which is why sometimes Ironhide had to pick up Jazz's slack if he ever got caught lacking for it. But Ironhide was also physically stronger than Jazz, while Jazz would be able to beat him because he's more skilled. Then there's Slug. I don't even think I should have to explain this. Slug performed way better with the KSI drones and is again relative to Grimlock. I don't even understand how Strafe and Scorn got higher than their literal second in command. Like, you get what I mean here? Strafe does scale, above Bumblebee. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? Bumblebee needed his help to beat Stinger. And Strafe was actually doing most of the heavy lifting during that fight, actually keeping Bumblebee and basically keeping Strafe off balance. So while I do like Optimus Primal, especially Rise of the Beast Optimus Primal, because it's something new and different, however, he is not on those Babers levels. Now moving on, Sentinel Prime being 5th on this list, I wouldn't have too much of a problem with it if we weren't including the Dinobots. Plus, I don't think anyone really counts him as an Autobot, or at least he's a traitor, but I think he does kind of fall inside with the Decepticons a bit more. Now, Grimlock as number 4 on this list, again, wouldn't be a problem, but here's the biggest issue I have with this here. Guess who's above him? Bumblebee. Yeah, what? What? So, Bumblebee, who needed help from the weakest Dinobot, again, no disrespect to Strafe, to basically fight a much more advanced version of himself, right? And then also was able to, needed help again to fight against the Last Night Megatron is what I'm trying to say here. And we're probably counting this fight. I know how a lot of Transformer fanboys, or at least Bumblebee fanboys, actually think about this here. That's what I really should be saying, right? Yeah, I know how a lot of Bumblebee fanboys think that this feat is quantifiable and stuff. But no, he doesn't scale to Optimus fully. This is a mind-controlled Optimus who's, again, not operating at 100% capacity. Plus, he never really healed from crashing on Cybertron and then coming back to Earth and stuff like that. So obviously, he could be very tired here. And the sheer fact that Megatron, or the Last Night version of Megatron here, would have probably killed or launched Bumblebee out of the chamber with his fusion cannon if Optimus didn't stop him. But guess who was able to tank both Megatron's fusion cannon and here's the funny thing, right? Manhandle him with no help. Ta-da! Yeah, that was Grimlock, right? I mean, it's obvious, it's simple, and it was shown in the movie. I don't understand how you thought Bumblebee would be above the literal dude who gave Optimus the full advantage over the entire KSI army, who was, again, more advanced than the Dark of the Moon army. Now, number 2, Dragonstorm. Again, I don't have too much contention of this. I really don't. I don't really have too many things against this, except for one thing. And again, that's feats. The Knights themselves really don't do much in their own movie. Like, the Knights of Cybertron are some of the oldest beings in the Transformers franchise, and Michael Bay couldn't even give them, like, solid feats here. Like, they don't do much in this. It's ridiculous. Now, again, you could go with the interpretation they were supposed to fight a Dragon Megatron with the help of Optimus Prime, but if they needed help to fight him, while Grimlock was manhandling him by himself here, I don't know. It just doesn't look too good for the relativity scaling of Dragonstorm here. I would still say he is above those Dark of the Moon levels and stuff. Still stronger than Dark of the Moon Optimus and stuff like that. Maybe stronger than Age of Extinction to Last Night Optimus, but it's very iffy. Because again, Optimus had already been beaten down and surrendered at that point. Now, Optimus being number 1, I don't think I have any contentions with that. It's pretty simple. Now, the biggest problem I have with this top 10 Autobots list is that it doesn't include the other powerhouses who were actually powerhouses in the Autobot franchise. Where's Jazz? Huh? You said you did your research, Danco, so you should have read the novels. You should have played the games. You should have read the tie-in material. But no, you didn't. And it's kind of obvious because, again, Jazz should be on this list here. He's manhandled 3 of Megatron's elites. And then there's Jolt, who's literally able to absorb the power of cities and being able to shoot it at Decepticons, shredding them like paper. This is a dude who can absorb the literal electricity of an entire city by simply putting his whip into an electrical socket. Like, you mean to tell me he's not a powerhouse? You mean to tell me he shouldn't be in the top 10? Crazy, right? Warpath should be here too, because he has more firepower than Ironhide. Then there's Stratosphere, who's literally a flying tank. Dear God, I don't even know where he would rank. Because he's literally a flying tank. And here's the thing, right? I am preparing some top 10 videos. And I will have a few for Monster Hunter as well. And for the, the ecology section and stuff like that. But this is like me putting a regular old Dogoron above a Hellblade Glavenus. Like, you see how that doesn't make sense? Like, you see how dumb that sounds as well? Saying that, oh, well, because of old Dogoron's description, he's above a Hellblade Glavenus, right? Yeah, no, that's not how this works here. But let's go over the actual ranking and how this video should have been ranked, right? Optimus Primal is at the bottom. It's unfortunate, but again, Optimus Primal is at the bottom. Now, Bumblebee will be number 2. I think it's very simple. Why? He has the feats. He has the, he's been in the franchise a lot longer than the other Autobots. Even the ones that have been more popular than him for years, right? Crazy, I know. Ironhide should be there next because I think it's pretty simple where he ranks, and plus his feats are there. Then there's Sentinel Prime. And while I do think Ironhide might be able to beat Sentinel Prime, I'm leaving it in the air. I'm leaving it right then and there. I'll do that for a video as well. I still think that Sentinel should be where he's at. Now, the Dinobots, pretty simple where they are. I mean, they have some relatively to each other, but obviously there is some, some slight differences in their strength levels. Strength as the lowest, Scorn as, again, second lowest, and then Slug as the highest. All right? With him, again, being their second in command. Next up would be Dragonstorm, because, again, I would say the interpretation feat is somewhat applicable here. Because, again, he was meant to fight that Dragon Megatron alongside Optimus. So it's very easy to say he would have damaged that Megatron. And obviously, GRIMLOCK would be number 2 because he's manhandled the Last Night Megatron, who was stronger, if not somewhat relative to the first movie Megatron, however you want to put it. And then, obviously, Optimus Prime as the cherry on top. So, in all honesty, I think it's pretty simple here. But if you want my overall opinion of this video, Danco shouldn't have touched this. Not at all. This was absolutely embarrassing, and it already makes stuff harder for the Transformers community when stuff like this is around and about. I mean, the misinformation in this video, and again, the blatant plagiarism is, again, one of the few reasons why I just don't respect this dude at all here. I don't send no hate his way, don't do anything to, like, harm him or anything. But again, this dude is probably one of the worst power scalers and definitely one of the worst debaters in the community. Because without something like Quora or CBR articles, this dude, in all honesty, is just trash. Like, it is what it is here. But that's going to be all today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I'll see you guys for another video. Peace.